Welcome to Conquering Your Clownfish, a podcast dedicated to transforming disabilities into special abilities. I'm your host, Brady Murray. Welcome to Conquering Your Clownfish. I am excited to introduce my special guest today, Karen Prewitt. Karen is the dedicated momager. Love that title. The dedicated momager of her son, Caleb. Her life transformed in 2007 when Caleb was born, arriving 17 years after his older sister, along with his Down syndrome diagnosis. She and her family are committed to ensuring that Caleb has no limits and can live his best life. Caleb has made history as the youngest individual with Down syndrome to complete a 15K, a half marathon, and an Olympic distance triathlon. He currently holds the Guinness World Record for the half marathon and has big aspirations for this year. Wow. Karen, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
I don't think I could have a better role model for a guest than you in coming on this podcast that is titled Conquering Your Clownfish. And so this is from the inspiration of Finding Nemo. Have an overprotective father, Marlin, who is always trying to make sure that nothing bad ever happens to his son, who has gimpy fin, as he refers to it. In this situation, you are absolutely conquering your clownfish. There is no clownfish that exists here because Caleb is truly singing the song that he's meant to sing. And so it's an honor to have you on the show today, Karen.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. As you mentioned, we try to have Caleb live his best life, and as everyone should, so Down syndrome or not, everyone is entitled to live their best life, and we wholeheartedly believe that.
I totally agree. So this is going to be really fun. Caleb's 17 years old, and I have to start with just some math problems on this. And so you and David have 4 children total. So David has 2 children from a prior marriage. His spouse passed away many years ago. You and David were married, and you welcomed Courtney into your life. And that is your daughter. She's 35. And then fast forward a lot of years later, 17 years later to be exact, you found out you were expecting. So let's start the story there.
Gosh, it's life-changing in so many ways to be an older parent. We had the benefit of having the experience of parenting 3 other children, but the energy level is just a little bit lower. David was 50, God bless him, and I was 44, but there was no question we were going to continue the pregnancy. We didn't know he had Down syndrome until he was born, but there was a lot of pressure on prenatal testing and all that, and we declined all that, all the invasive stuff. So no, he had Down syndrome until he was born. But, got over that hurdle of the diagnosis and digesting all that pretty quickly. And just accepted him and loved him and jumped right into the community first and foremost. And I think that really set us off on a great path. Because we have so much support here in Jacksonville is where we live, Jacksonville, Florida, and there's a lot of support here, thankfully. So that was really helpful, and just meeting other parents and people who wanted the best for Caleb, just like we did.
Wonderful. I think that's great advice for any family entering into a new diagnosis, is to lean into it. And so get super involved in your community, 100% to the extent that you feel in your heart, embrace this new journey and just lean into it. And a phrase I often use is serve the pain that you know best. And so oftentimes a diagnosis takes you down a path that does create some cognitive dissonance and a little bit of uncomfortableness and even a little bit of pain. And so serve that pain that you know best. And you're a perfect example of that. So let's talk about Caleb. For those that are able to see this video, you can see a few medals and plaques and different things in the background there that Karen has actually earned herself. Karen's in her office. These are all Karen's medals and accomplishments. Well, Caleb, the fruit doesn't fall far from the tree. Caleb, as you share, has a whole room full of this stuff because he's been very involved. And in fact, is a Guinness record holder for, is it the youngest person with Down syndrome to complete a half marathon? Is that correct?
It is, yeah. Last
Yep.
year, excuse me, he was 16 and 300 some days. And we decided, he had done the 5K a couple times, and we decided, what's 4 more miles, right?
Yeah.
So, thankfully we have a strong community of support, not only in our Down syndrome group, but also in our runner. I think we're a member of like 4 different running teams. And they were all like, let's do it. We can do this. So we had a ton of support running that race. And that was in honor of his grandmother. It was to raise awareness and money for breast cancer, which she had and recovered from, thankfully. But
Wow.
it was just such a wonderful time. Now, since then, he's done 4 more. So we're on our way. And, we announced last week, I don't know if you saw it, but he's going to attempt his first full marathon this fall.
Nice.
So we're very excited for that.
Wonderful.
And
He's going to do amazing. So this is unique. I love running. I have a background in running as well, along with my wife. And something that is unique about this is oftentimes individuals get into running, in particular longer distance running, much later, not in their teenage years. Common to see individuals running half marathons and full marathons, for that matter, when they're 16 or 17 years old. That's an anomaly in and of itself for a typical kid. But here we have Caleb, who has Down syndrome and is embracing this wholeheartedly. And so share with us a little bit more about Caleb and just his personality and mindset, and really tell me about him.
So, he'd done Special Olympics for years and years. We started very early with that. And then the pandemic hit. And, me being a lifelong runner, I said, we're going to try something different. We're going to try the Couch to 5K program. And, he made it to the end of the block that first day. I think that's 2/10 of a mile. And he's, I was like dragging the whole time. And I said, okay, buddy, we're going to follow the schedule. Let's see if we can do the 5K for Thanksgiving. That was our goal. We had it on the calendar, a big circle, and very excited about it, trying to build him up. And I don't know if he was as excited as I was. He gave it his best. And so, every day, I don't know if you know the Couch to 5K program.
I do.
Build it up a little bit, each week. And so I think it was 10 weeks. And that was the culmination, was our local Thanksgiving 5K. And he did it. And the look of pride on his face when he finished that race, like he couldn't believe it, I couldn't believe it, and Dad couldn't believe it. So it was just a great experience. And then, we got into triathlons after that. So of course there's running involved in that, swimming, biking, and running. And so we just kept running and swimming and biking and all that. But he did a 10K, he did a 15K, and then we set our sights on the half. And, like I mentioned, he's done that now 5 times. And, he's never quit. He's done 100 and some races so far, and he's never quit a race.
Wow.
I testimony to him, parents, stick-to-itiveness, that, he's not going to give up on himself. And I'm so proud of that more than anything else, I think.
Yeah. How old was Caleb when he did the Couch to 5K?
I think he was 13, because that was 20, right? So yeah, 13.
That's another just incredible example of, there's not a lot of kids out there doing 5Ks when they're 13 years old, let alone kids with Down syndrome. So I think that's a big testament to you in believing in Caleb and pushing Caleb and not putting any boundaries on what he is or is not capable of.
Well, thank you. In pretty much every area of his life, we tried to embrace that. But also, I have to give special thanks to all those mentors in our area, whether they're local or national, because, we got involved very early on. We were up in Washington, D.C., marching for the ABLE Act, doing all the things. So we met a lot of great people who were, their kids and young adults were just a little bit ahead of us. That's great advice. Here's the things that worked well for us. Here's the things that didn't work so well. Try it for yourself, see what works for you guys. But certainly that generation of folks who are now, I guess, in their mid to late 20s was a huge inspiration for us in our journey.
Yeah. Yeah, most definitely. I mean, you have Chris Nikic, who's there in Florida, that was right about the time that he started to engage in the Ironman competitions. That had to be a good inspiration for Caleb. And I just feel like Caleb is really taking on a mission and journey of his own. And it's hard to say what he's going to be able to accomplish in his life because he's still very young. I mean, he's 17 years old and already a Guinness Book, world record holder. And so pretty incredible just to see that.
Well, thanks. Yeah, Chris, and then we've got Chelsea Warner, who's a gymnast with Down syndrome.
Yeah.
There's a number of other, Kyle, who's the bodybuilder with Down syndrome. Just another a group of folks who are inspirational to us in our journey, both to Caleb and us as his parents. But yeah, he's got his own goals and his own journey to follow, and works where it leads. We have no idea right now. I didn't think when he was born 17 years ago that we would be doing the things that we're doing now. But also, we want to be an inspiration and an example to other parents and especially of younger children, saying, don't put limits on your kids because they can do amazing things if they
That's
have
right.
support and opportunities. That's always my mantra: support and opportunities.
That's right.
There's a lot that your kid can do.
Yeah, I had an experience. In fact, this picture right above my head, this is my son Nash and my son Ridge and we are in the back country, in the wilderness country of Wyoming, in the Wind River Wilderness area. And this is above 10,000 feet elevation, and this is only accessible via backpacking in there. And we were doing a high adventure with the youth of our community, where we took around 15 boys into the backcountry and stayed there for four days, I think is how long we were there. And I was the first person to say Nash should not do this. It's a multiple mile hike. You're packing all your equipment. You're gaining thousands and thousands of feet elevation. I just said, no, it wasn't even a question on whether or not I was going to have Nash be a part of that. Nash was like 13 at the time, 14. And just something didn't sit right with me as I just assumed and made that decision for my son. And I remember talking to Nash and asking if he wanted to be a part of that. And it wasn't even a question. He said, well, yeah, I'll go. Like, let's go. And I thought, who am I to take that away from my son? And so we went for it. And he did amazing. He did amazing. And not only did he do amazing, like he did the whole thing, really, it was an effort. It was hard, but he did so good. But the thing that I learned so much about this is, yes, Nash did great, but more than anything, Nash was an inspiration and a way for the other boys to be able to get involved in ways that they never would have been able to otherwise. And I think that's one of the things that we have to remember as parents raising these children that have these, what I refer to as superpowers. The more we can get them into the community, into their peer groups, into just society as a whole, the better off society as a whole is going to be. And I see you doing that with Caleb at a very extraordinary pace.
Well, that gives me chills when you say, who am I to take that away from him? And I'm going to cry here, because I totally believe that. We are not the ones who should be setting parameters on our kids. If they want to, they can set parameters on themselves. But, my parents didn't set parameters on me, and I didn't set parameters on Courtney. So why should I do that for Caleb?
That's right.
First, of course, safety always first, but opportunities and support, and just let him fly and see what he can do. And same for our kids. They deserve that.
Most definitely. That's great. So I want to ask about Caleb's cookies. This is a whole different venue here, whole different thing that you've embarked on. Tell us about Caleb's cookies.
Oh gosh. So again, during the pandemic, we had Caleb's Facebook page up for a couple of years, and we started doing some live cooking shows because he loved to cook. Dad's the cook. I'm not. Don't ask me to cook because you'll not be happy with what you get. But so we did some cooking shows. We called them Fridays at 4. It was a lot of fun interaction, and I learned a lot about filming and all that. But we made some cookies one week and we gave them out to neighbors and friends from church, and they were like, "Oh, these are really good. I like these." So we got hooked up with a local woman who was running a coffee shop called Happy Brew, and they employ people. Excuse me. They employ people with differing abilities, and so she said, "Hey, what do you think if we started serving Caleb's cookies?" And we were like, "Oh, yeah, why not?" So, we pretty much do exclusive work with them. There are some like, excuse me, I have a friend coming to pick up cookies today. Can we pause for a minute? Because
Of course. Absolutely.
I'm getting over a sinus thing.
I'm sorry. That's never fun, is it?
It's been a week. Okay.
So we were talking about Caleb's cookies.
Right. So Happy Brew, yeah, we partner almost exclusively with them, but we do some local individual orders. Like I have a friend coming to pick up some cookies today, but he loves it. I think it's good in the way of he's 17. School lasts maybe 3, 4 more years, and then you're going to find a job, honey. So we need to figure out something for you to do. So it's an option. He could stick with it, or we could just he wants to work at the gym. He wants to work at Happy Brew. He loves being around people. And I don't know if your kids are the same way, but
very much.
That Down syndrome stereotype of being the life of the party, he embraces that. So yeah, that was another just kind of. Yeah, there's a lot of bad things from the pandemic, but there were some good things too.
Most definitely. Yeah, there's 2 wonderful things from that. So let's talk about that. Caleb's 17. My son, Nash, is 17 as well. Nash, a junior in high school. Is Caleb a junior or a senior this year?
So he'll be 18 next month, and we're doing all the things to get ready for adulthood, which, we were set for a while. Once they hit their teens, you're kind of along for a while. Then it's like, oh, it's coming up.
It's a big deal. It's different. It's different for our kids that have a disability when they reach 18. I mean, it's a really big deal when dealing with guardianship and making decisions as it relates to just what does their life look like when, what I would refer to as the school bus stops coming. How does that look? And so our kids makes like their life oftentimes is school. And I gather that Caleb probably doesn't ever moan and groan about going to school. It's something he likes to do and he looks forward to it. Nash is the exact same way, but the school bus will stop coming at some point in time. And so talk to me about that as you look at this transition and what some of your thoughts are about that.
Yeah. And again, we had those mentors in our lives for so many years, and I kind of leaned on them and said, help me understand what I need to do to get ready. Attended all the workshops, all the webinars, all the conferences. And so we had a pretty good idea of what we needed to do when. It was just kind of waiting for the right time for all that to start. Guardianship, as you mentioned, we chose guardian advocacy for Caleb, which allows him some privileges. But the 2 things that we were really concerned about for him was healthcare and financial decisions. So those 2 biggies now are, Dad and I both have guardian advocacy, so we can help him make those decisions. Of course, we'll talk with him about everything that we do. And then, Social Security and ABLE account and special needs trust and all the financial things. There's a lot, like you said, there's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah.
The school bus will stop coming. So, job exploration is our next step. And next year he will enter in transition at school. And that will be a lot of that job exploration, along with some academics as well.
So fast forward 10 years from now, Caleb's in his late 20s. You're somebody that has no limits. You do such a great job, just yourself personally, as well as what you teach your children, just in restricting this stinking thinking, right? You're removing any limits from our mind. And so what does Caleb's life look like in 10 years from now if you could have your wildest dreams come true?
Wildest dreams. Well, we love to travel. Travel is something that even when David and I were younger, had set our sights on for retirement. Now that we're here, we have embraced that as well. And so, I imagine that, we'll be traveling. There's a community of supported living here for folks with intellectual disabilities. And so if Caleb chooses to move out into that community and live on his own or live with a friend, that's certainly his right and privilege. He has a girlfriend. You never know, he could get married. So there's a lot of things ahead in his life. Certainly sports are always going to be there. We're taking on the marathon this year. Who knows in 10 years what it could be? I
That's
can't
right.
even think about that because I'm trying my first ultra this weekend.
Wow.
I'm excited for that. He's going to do the 3-hour race with me.
Wow.
So we'll see how that all goes. But, he's got big dreams. But then again, some days he's happy just to sit and play his games. Dance games. He loves dancing. He went to Night to Shine last weekend and he had a
Wonderful.
with his girlfriend. So he just loves life. And I think that's the biggest thing that he's taught David and I is, live each day, no limits, live it out loud. Yeah.
Karen, what are your thoughts about Caleb getting married?
We have older friends who have gotten married. There's a financial piece to it as well. So they didn't legally marry. They did have a ceremony and for Social Security and all that. There's some limitations there. Not limitations that we've put on Caleb, but certainly, and if he wants to, get government benefits, that's certainly something to think about. They are older friends that I'm thinking about have a very happy life together. The one couple in particular has been married now, I think, 3 or 4 years and live together and have a happy life. Certainly, there's a lot of support in their lives. And I would anticipate that that would be the same thing for Caleb.
I think about that with Nash, my 17-year-old. And Nash, I know Nash would want to get married someday. I know that. And I, same thing that I said earlier, like, who am I to ever stop him from being able to do that? And, that's just a unique thing, a very personal decision. It is a family decision, as you say, looking at this as our role as caregivers. It is definitely a family decision, but definitely one that I think was so beautifully driven by the self-advocate, by the individual who has Down syndrome. Definitely should have a say in that. I think that that's a unique thing that we will face at some point in time.
Absolutely. And, there's couples that have gotten married and they live they don't live together. They live in separate states. Thinking of a friend, older friend now and his wife. They both have Down syndrome and, but they're married and they're living their best life. They see each other every now and then. And for them, it works. For other friends, it works that they're living together. So, how it works out. And, same for any of us, right? It's crazy how life just works and the twists and turns that it takes and surprises that it brings. I'm sure there's a lot of surprises in store for both you and I.
That is a promise. Yeah, that's a promise. It's fun. So in our family, we have two boys that have Down syndrome. We have Nash, who's our biological son. He's 17. Then Cooper, our adopted son, adopted him from China. He's 13. And they are like yin and yang. So Nash, reads and is very just like he's mature in that respect. And Coop doesn't read, could care less about reading, but is like street smart almost to a fault, right? And so Nash is very, very innocent. Cooper is very, very street smart. Nash has, the ability to reason in a lot of things, and Coop is just more of like all on red, pedal to the metal, let's go type of a kid. And so it's quite interesting to see the dynamic between those two. But yeah, you're right. Between Caleb and Nash and Coop, I think we have a lot of adventures ahead of us for sure.
Gosh, yeah. Caleb's probably a mix of both of those. I mean, he's not, pedal to the metal every single moment of the day, but pretty much, he is full throttle from the time he gets up to the time he goes to bed. He sleeps great, which is something I prayed for when I'm at 44. Please, Lord, let this baby sleep. And he granted me that prayer because he does sleep good. But, he's active from dusk till dawn. And we work out pretty much every day after school, get that energy out. But still, he'll come home and he'll do his dance game. And, he'll just look at me. David's 68 now. So he's, what are we doing here?
That's right. That is fun. No, that is fun. I do really enjoy just the energy and the vibes that you guys have on your social media. You guys have a lot of fun, and there's always a dance party involved with Caleb. Some way, somehow, there's always a dance party.
Finish line dance party, prom dance party. He will, if dancing was a sport, that might be his best sport. I don't know. But, his way of living life and enjoying the moment and bringing everybody else into the party with him, which is something that, David and I, before we had him, we weren't really extroverts. We weren't total introverts, but, we weren't out there like we are now. I mean, I'll see people and I'll have conversations with them, an hour conversation about some topic, disability topic, and I never would have done that before. It's like I said, lots of twists and turns and adventures in this life, and we'll see.
Definitely, yeah. So I have to put this out there. We're in Utah, and Utah has some incredible races, and so in particular in the fall, lots of races in canyons that are beautifully just decorated with fall colors, amazing fall temperatures, downhill slope, downhill grade, which makes for great PR opportunities. But there are some really, really special races out here in Utah. All of them have, the 5K, 10K, half, full marathon option attached to them on that weekend or that day, I should say. But if you guys ever want to do a race out here in Utah, look me up. I'd love to host you and have you come stay with us, and we'll go do a race.
Oh, that sounds amazing. Maybe next 2026.
Plan on it.
We've always wanted to get out there and, see some of the parks out there. Like I said, we love to travel, so it's not out of the question. Travel and racing, we do a lot.
I tell you, think of September of 26, and you've got some amazing fall races, and then you've got Yellowstone just up the way, and Utah has some amazing national parks as you look at it, and there's not a better time of year than September for all of that stuff. So look us up. Let's do it. Very good, Karen. Really appreciate you being a guest on the show today. Congratulations again on just the amazing work that you're doing as a family in sharing and uncovering the superpowers of Down syndrome through your son, Caleb. And you are truly a great example to all of us in being able to empower these kids to sing that song they're meant to sing. So thanks for being a guest on the show today.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I had a great time.
So I'm going to keep recording because I want to put a note out there just with the our team that will be editing this. I would love to, if you would be open to introducing us to that family that you referenced. I think there was a couple that you said that have children that are married. I would love to have one or two of them as guests on the show and hear their story about this, because I think that would be a really insightful episode just to talk about. Is that something you'd be open to introducing us to them?
Sure. Yeah. And I think, the young woman's name is Megan. She has Down syndrome. Her husband has an intellectual disability. I'm not sure what it is. It's not autism. Jimmy is his name, and they're late.
Wow.
Like I said, got married about 4 or 5 years ago, and they live in that community, that supported community, happy as clams. And, of course, a lot of parent support, family support. But, they both have jobs. They both live life. They're both Special Olympic athletes.
Super cool.
An athlete for years and years. I'm sure, they'd love to. Megan is very gregarious. Mm-hmm. She's been inspiration to us in the way of sports as well. She does Zumba, so she's a Zumba instructor. And I don't know if you've ever heard of the Buddy Cruise.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So we're buddy cruisers. And so Megan and Jimmy and their families are all buddy cruisers as well. So that's another great community. Again, full of support. And yeah, we love them. We love that family. There's so
Well,
many great, that we've come to be a part of as a result of having Caleb in our life. And I'm sure you know that as well.
yeah, I'd love to meet them. That'd be great.
Oh, what should I just give them your
Yeah,
email?
let's make sure we'll have Shaylee reach out and be able to just ask if, in fact, you have Shaylee's email, if you would be open to just emailing, like what you said, it's Megan, correct? Megan's parents' contact info, and then Shaylee can coordinate that, and we can do a special episode with those guys.
Awesome. Yeah. And I think like now with Nash being 17, looking at the future, for years and years we were kind of in our little bubble of school and, fun and, after school activities and all that. Now all of a sudden it's like the metamorphosis
It's
into
different.
adult life. And
Yeah,
yeah, it's now, does Nash have the same opportunity to stay in a transition program, or will
he
he?
does. Yeah, he does. Yep, he does. And I have to commend you. You have your ducks in a row when it comes to planning. And so professionally speaking, that's actually what I do is I own a company that does disability planning for families that have a loved one with a disability. And that 17 age is a big one as far as where the planning comes in. But you are head and shoulders above most families in our country right now that are in this space.
Well, again, we had those people who were very instrumental in getting us in the right mindset. And so, we got the ABLE account very early on, special needs trust. We knew we had to do guardian advocacy. We've done special or Social Security. We have that meeting. See, he gets Social Security because Dad's retired. Caleb gets a portion. So now it'll switch to SSDI, I believe. And then, making sure everything else is set and
Yeah.
job VR, connecting with VR.
Yeah. You're doing a really good job.
But, we're fortunate that we have the time to do it because a lot of these parents are 20 years younger than us. They're still working. They have other kids. And, I wish I had their energy level some days, but, I have the experience of raising 3 other kids too. So,
Yep. Oh, that's awesome. Well, you're amazing. Thank you so much for your time, and hope you get feeling a little bit better after this sickness. Isn't that the worst when you're trying to train and you've got an ultra coming up and you get this sinus stuff going? Ah, it's the worst.
have you done one?
I've never done an ultra. I've done a fair amount of Ironmans and a lot of marathons, but I haven't ever done an ultra.
Well, yeah, again, so this will be 6 hour, I'm over the hump, I think. So at least that.
Yeah.
We've got some, people who are, like I said, great running community here in Jacksonville. So it goes both ways. If you ever want to come out to Jacksonville,
You
come
got
on
it.
out.
You got it.
I will look up. What's the name of that? Is it a festival?
Well, there's multiple races in that September timeframe out here in Utah. My favorite one, it's a small race, but it is just gorgeous, a gem. It's called the Huntsville Marathon. And this year, I think that's the 13th of September. And it is so gorgeous and the fastest race ever. I mean, take your PR and knock 15 minutes off of it. That's what a marathon time looks like. I mean, it's just fast.
Well, we will definitely, like I said, David is all about the whole, when you said Yosemite, is that what you said? Yeah.
In Yellowstone.
Yellowstone. Yeah. Yeah. So maybe someday, but I will connect with Megan's mom and see if she's open to that. And then I'll connect with Shaylee and
Perfect.
On.
All right. Thank you so much. It's been awesome to visit with you. Have a great day, Karen.
All right. Take care.
We'll see you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Conquering Your Clownfish. If you liked what we discussed on the podcast today and want to continue the conversation, please visit us at conqueringyourclownfish.com. And please don't forget to subscribe.